G'day guys and welcome to another installment of Nathan's Beer Reviews. Today I'm going to be looking at the iconic American adjunct lager, Budweiser. Very little needs to be said about this iconic, well-renowned American adjunct lager. If Foster's is considered to be Australian for beer, then Budweiser is surely considered to be American for beer. It's what's associated with American beers around the world, just like Foster's is associated with Australian beer around the world. Those who know a bit more about beer know, of course, that Budweiser doesn't represent all of American beer. There are some excellent American beers out there, and just as Foster's certainly doesn't represent Australian for beer. I'd dare say that Budweiser is a lot more popular within the United States than Foster's is with Australia, but what can I tell you about Budweiser that you probably don't already know? To my American viewers, you probably know a ton more about than I do. It was first introduced in 1876, about 142 years ago. So it's been around in American culture for forever, almost. It's one of America's highest selling beers. Naturally, in 2017 it was the third highest selling beer behind Coors Light and Bud Light, Budweiser's light beer brother. To those viewers of mine who are Australian, Bud Light isn't a light beer like us Australians know light beer. American light beer is light in calories and flavour compared to Australian light beer, which is just lower in alcohol. Around the world it's fairly popular. It's brewed in several places around the world, usually by breweries associated with and owned by Anheuser-Busch, who obviously own Budweiser. It's extremely big in China, the fourth highest rating beer in China, and around the world it's brewed in at different strengths. Of course, the full American version is 5%. Here in Australia, we import it at 4.9% alcohol by volume. I'm fairly sure we don't brew it here. Carlton and United Breweries, who are owned by Anheuser-Busch, InBev, that sort of international consortium. I'm pretty sure Budweiser isn't nearly popular enough to warrant it being brewed under license, under supervision. So I'm pretty sure they just brew it for 4.9% for the Australian market. 0.1% off the full strength version, so there shouldn't be too much taste difference. This bottle I have here in front of me, I picked up at Aldi as part of a 5 beer variety pack, and a lot of the beers there come from the UK. I'm pretty sure they've imported all the beers. The variety pack itself was made in the United Kingdom, and Aldi have just bought it and imported it over to Australia. So this beer I have in front of me, this is actually 4.5% alcohol by volume. So it's 0.5% less than the full strength version in America. So will there be a taste difference? I assume so. You wouldn't think that 0.5% of alcohol would make a lot of difference, but you'd actually be very surprised. Here in Australia, about half a dozen years ago, Carlton and United Breweries, without telling anyone, they reduced Australia's most popular beer, Victoria Bitter. That was at 4.9% alcohol by volume. They dropped it down to 4.6% alcohol by volume. And within a month of them doing so, the consumer backlash was enormous. People almost went on strike, and they were protesting in the streets almost. And that was only a 0.3 reduction. I'm not a big VB drinker, but you constantly hear people, telling horror stories about how VB was horrible and undrinkable, and so I'm sure this coming in at 4.5% instead of the 5% will make a bit of difference. So in the US it's 5%, Australia's 4.9%, UK and Europe it's 4.5%, and in China it's 3.6%. So in China it's almost a mid-strength beer. But yeah, it's the king of beers, if you will. That's what they like to proclaim it as. And the label is actually quite quite iconic. Everyone recognises the brown 330 milliliter stubby with the red and white, red, white, and silver label. And they have a very famous quote on the front of it. This is the famous Budweiser beer. We know of no brand produced by any other brewer which costs so much to brew and age. Our exclusive Beechwood aging process produces a taste, a smoothness, and a drinkability you will find with no other beer at any price. Pretty bold statement. Pretty bold statement. Anheuser-Busch. I don't know if the camera's going to focus on it. I don't think so. That's what you get for a $100 camera. Brewed by original processors from the choicest hops, rice, and best barley malt. So yes, as you probably already know, this is a adjunct lager using rice. I'm not when it comes to adjunct lagers, I prefer the beers that are used with rice over corn. I find they just have a much smoother mouthfeel, a smoother flavour profile. So yeah, so Budweiser, king of beers, 4.5% alcohol by volume because it is the UK version. Ingredients are water, barley malt, rice and hops. Brewed in the United Kingdom and distributed by AB InBev United Kingdom Limited, Luton. So it is a British Budweiser. I don't know how offensive that's going to be to Americans. A British Budweiser. Has a ring to it, but at the same time, who knows what it'll taste like. Anyway, enough rambling. Let's get cracking into this iconic beer. I'm going to be using my Tooth's Pale Ale pint mug for this because I don't know. Budweiser has a red label. This has red writing and etching. So it just seems like it'll be a good fit for the beer. The cap's fairly standard. It's a twist off, as indicated by the arrows, with a silver crown suggesting it is the king. Let's crack it open. Excellent smoke on the opening there. Very smoky on the opening. Pour it into the glass. Now, I haven't had Budweiser in a long time. It's been around in Australia for quite some time. As I mentioned, I'm pretty sure we import it from America, brewed at 4.9%. I'm pretty sure you can get the 5% stuff over here. I don't think the government really cares about a 0.1% alcohol difference. But yeah, I have had it before. I had it when I was 18. Being allowed to drink, and I walked into a bottle shop and saw a 6-pack of Budweiser on special. I thought, oh, Budweiser, yay, I'm going to be cool to drink famous American beer. And I don't remember not liking it, but at the same time I was 18 and I didn't really know a lot about beer. I don't think I've really gained much knowledge in the time since then, but we'll see how it goes. It pours and looked very much like a standard adjunct lager. Very light golden, yellow straw appearance, with a very foamy, soapy white head, of which there's now about a finger and a half remaining, which is dissipating by the second. Very highly carbonated, lots of bubbles streaming to the top, as you can see through the glass. The smell, smells like a lager. Barley malts. Very grainy, bit ricey, almost like a rice pudding almost. Slight floral hop aroma. Doesn't actually say on the bottle what hops they use. I'm sure one of my American viewers can fill that in for me. Very sweet, like rice pudding sweet. Anyway, let's dive in. Cheers, guys. Very smooth. Carbonation is actually quite low. As I mentioned earlier, I prefer the rice adjunct beers over the corn adjunct, maize adjunct beers usually, because they just tend to have a much smoother, slightly fuller mouthfeel. It's sweet, courtesy of the barley malt. I think there's probably a bit of sugar added in there somewhere. It's not just a malty sweetness. There's not an artificial sweetness, but there's another element of sweetness to it that's not barley malt. It's a relatively clean finish, a very dry finish, but not a dry finish that you get from a hop dryness. I feel like my mouth is drying out excessively after every sip, not in a natural manner. Yeah, that's quite off-putting actually. It's with hop bitterness, you get that spicy, floral hop, and then a nice dry linger. And this feels like it's just sucking moisture out from the corners of my mouth. And it actually leaves my mouth, my tongue, my lips very dry. I get the feeling there's an enzyme in this beer which is drying it out more so than normal. Carbonation is low to medium. Yeah, look, it's okay, Budweiser. It's not anything special, I don't think. I wouldn't mind getting my hands on the full American version, the 5% or at least the 4.9%. As I mentioned, I'm sure there is a taste difference between that and this, which is 4.5. But you know, as a sessionable lager, yeah, it's kind of the perfect barbecue beer, I suppose. There's nothing too offensive about it. It's probably a bit sweeter than what I'd normally go for. Like I said, I think they add some sugars or cane sugar or something into it to sweeten it up that little bit more. It's a lot sweeter than your European style adjunct lagers, which I tend to prefer. And there's that almost artificial dryness going on that is drying my mouth out, which I'm finding a bit unpleasant. But aside from that, it's not overly offensive. It's not foul. It's just a very simple, basic adjunct lager that's meant for mass drinking. You know, it's not complex at all. A simple beer for simpler times, perhaps. A simple beer for simple people, maybe. Which I think, you know, yeah, I can see how that might come across as a bit snobbish and offensive. But if you're not wanting something, if you just want a beer, you know, you're just not wanting to play around with flavors. You're not wanting to play around with an exotic adventure. You just want a beer to drink, a beer to quench your thirst, a beer to dry your mouth out. Then Budweiser's gonna to fit that bill. Would I go out and buy it again? Look, I'll hunt around and see if I can find a 4.9 or a 5% Budweiser. I'm sure if I look hard enough, I'll find one. I know Dan Murphy's and BWS sell Budweiser, but I'm not sure if I want to buy a 6-pack of it. I don't know if I'll drink 6 of them, but I wouldn't mind just finding one, maybe 2, just to do a comparison of the beers. What am I going to rate it? Look, it's not overly shocking. It's not the worst thing in the world. The only thing I don't like about it is that dry, that almost enzyme dryness that's just sucking moisture out of the palate, out of my palate, which is actually leaving me more thirsty than you know. Because my lips are incredibly dry right now. My tongue's dried out. My cheeks are dried out. Well, I'm going to give Budweiser B-. It's not an excellent beer. It's an okay beer. It's above average beer, and that's why I'm probably going to see. For me, an average is C plus. A B-, I think it's fair. It's not. I mean, it's one of the most popular beers in America for a reason, because it's cheap, it's easy to drink. And it's not a foul beer, it's not a bad beer, it's just not exactly my style of lager that I enjoy. But it's not offensive, it's not awful, it's not, terrible example of an adjunct lager. Are there better adjunct lagers on the market? For me personally, yes. Are there worse adjunct lagers on the market for me? Absolutely. Would I drink it over an Australian adjunct lager? Over a VB? Yes. Over a Carlton Draft? Maybe. Over a Tooheys New? Maybe. Would I drink it over a Heineken or a Beck's or a Stella Artois or a Peroni Nastro Azzurro? No. I'd probably choose all those 4 European-style adjunct lagers over Budweiser. But hey, if someone gave it to me for free, I'd absolutely drink it, and I'd smile and say thank you very much. So, a B- for Budweiser. It's American for beer. It's an iconic American beer, and I don't think it's gonna change anytime soon. So, thanks for watching the review, guys. This one's dragged on a little longer than I think I had planned. I've been kind of excited to do this one for a little while because, I don't know, I'm sure to most American viewers, Budweiser is just Budweiser, another standard beer you can get down to your local supermarket or corner shop or petrol station. But, here in Australia, we don't really drink American adjunct lagers. We have our own adjunct lagers that we drink way too many of. So, look, B- for Budweiser. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like the video, click a like, hit subscribe if you want to watch more of my videos. If you want to see me review your favourite beer, throw me a comment down in the comment section, or send me a personal message, and I'll get around to hunting down your beer and reviewing it for you. And drink responsibly, guys, but have fun, because no good story ever started with off milk. So, all good, guys, and see you in the next review.